Fala pessoal, muitíssimo bom dia para todos os criptólogos, tecnofilósofos e habitantes e visitantes do Castaverse. Cara, hoje com um convidado super especial, Karan, da dYdX Foundation. Vai ser uma live, como foi a live da linha, né, com tradução simultânea, e a gente vai perguntar um pouco para ele sobre essa jornada da dYdX rumo ao universo da Cosmos, como é que vai ser isso. Eu vou estar falando um pouco em inglês, um pouco em português, e a gente vai fazendo aqui o meio de campo. So, hello, Karan. Very nice to have you here. I don't know, what time is it for you now?
It's late in the evening, 7:30. But yeah,
Oh,
great to be
so
here. Thanks.
good
Thanks,
evening
Casta.
for you, man. Yes. Galera, a gente sempre começa a nossa live fazendo uma perguntinha inicial para o nosso convidado, que é perguntar para ele como é que foi a jornada dele pelo mundo cripto e como é que ele foi parar aonde ele foi parar. Eu vou deixar aqui um bloco de notas do meu lado, e enquanto o Karan for dando o bizu dele, eu vou anotando e depois eu traduzo para vocês, tá? So, Karan, it's very, very nice to have you here. The Brazilian community loves dYdX. We have a lot of requests in our channel and lots of channels to talk about dYdX and learn more about this project. So, it's very nice to have you here and to allow the Brazilian community to talk with people that are working not only in Brazil but across the globe. We always start our interviews asking not about the project but first about our guest, which is you today. So if you could share with us a little about your history, how you started in crypto, how it was for you, and how you eventually ended up at dYdX, so we can get to know a little more about you.
Sure, happy to talk about it. And thanks again for inviting me. By the way, it's really interesting doing this for the first time, actually, when you're translating live what I'm saying. So it would be a great experience. I'll just share a personal story and maybe you can share with your community as well. So I went to Portugal a few years ago on my birthday. And I wanted to learn Portuguese, but the only sentence I learned was "Eu falo português muito bem." But and people say that I speak it very well, but I don't speak anything else. So I'm sorry about that. I should have learned more so that I could have interacted directly with your community. Sure, about my journey, I can quickly start from the start. So I come from a product management sort of background. I started with a analytics company. I got really interested in machine learning. I was building my own product back in 2014, 2015. But the product that I was building was very bad. It couldn't find the product market fit. The idea wasn't great. So I was talking to a bunch of investors. And one of the investors I was talking to, they were starting a crypto fund and they were investing in early Web3 projects back in 2016. So one of the investors told me, why don't you shut down what you're building? Doesn't make a lot of sense. Join us and lead our fund that we are starting. That's how I got into the space, started researching a lot on early ICO projects, early token projects, as well as like from investment viewpoint for the fund that I was looking at. That's where I started, but then of course got deep into Ethereum because Ethereum was the main protocol. I was looking at early blockchains like EOS, Neo, but of course Ethereum ecosystem was picking up the most. So I started putting more thought and effort into Ethereum. 2018, Consensus, which is the leading studio, you can say, for Ethereum. They support MetaMask, a lot of Ethereum core tools. They were starting their operations in India, and I was one of the first employees to join their team in India for Consensus. I spent a couple of years with Consensus, then joined a layer one protocol called Conflux Network, and I was leading their global strategy. It was in the news a few times now. It is becoming a very popular network, especially in Asia. And after that, I was actually listening to a podcast by Balaji Srinivas, and I can maybe talk more about it when we talk more about Cosmos and some other things. Really got sold on the AppChain thesis, started building a DEX on a Cosmos protocol a couple of years ago. Raised good capital for it, ran the product for almost a year, did a lot of volumes on that particular product, but liquidity was a major challenge, and there were a few other things that made me decide to shut down that product and move to dYdX, as dYdX was also launching on Cosmos. And it was sort of like a great experience for me building on Cosmos and then moving to a much bigger organization which is actively building a new sort of protocol in that space, right? So that's my journey. Happy for you to translate it for your community.
Great, thanks a lot. Which was the name of the layer 1 protocol you worked on before Cosmos?
I was building on injector protocol before.
Injective, ok. Let me translate for everyone. Bom, pessoal, assim, o histórico do Karan é heavy. You have a great history. It's a lot of stuff you're working on. Did you even program in these protocols? What did you do on the protocols?
My role was mostly focused on the business strategy side of things. I had a co-founder working on the tech side of things, yeah.
Ok. Então, gente, ele estava até falando aqui que ele estava em Portugal esses dias, né? E ele tentou aproveitar para aprender português em Portugal, só que ele só conseguiu aprender a falar "eu falo português muito bem". E ele realmente falou essa frase muito bem, mas é tudo que ele sabia falar, coitado. Então não deu muita coisa. O background dele, ele foi PM, né, que é Project Manager, em uma companhia de Machine Learning, que mexe com inteligência artificial, mas ele não curtiu a ideia, achou que o produto não ia dar certo, estava um pouco desanimado, e ele conheceu uma turma de investidores num fundo cripto, lá por 2016, alguma coisa. Nesse fundo, eles começaram a acompanhar muito a Ethereum, os protocolos da Ethereum, e eventualmente ele acabou achando ali um networking e foi trabalhar na Consensus na Índia, né, na divisão da Consensus da Índia. Trabalhou lá por um tempo, depois foi trabalhar na Layer 1 da Injective, né, conheceu mais o ecossistema da Cosmos, curtiu a tese de AppChains, né, que é um modelo de escalabilidade do ecossistema da Cosmos, eventualmente conheceu o time da dYdX, migrou para a dYdX e está lá até agora, e ele falou que está curtindo pra caramba trabalhar na Cosmos. Aliás, pessoal, quem tiver perguntas para o Karan, pode ir já deixando as perguntas no chat, que no final da live, tendo um tempinho, eu puxo as perguntas para ele também. Ok? Eu vou puxando quando for encaixando, tá, pessoal? Podem ir deixando aí que eu não vou puxar na hora, mas eu puxo na hora certa. So, Karan, thanks a lot for this background. I've just translated to the audience. And before we do a deep dive into the journey of the dYdX toward Cosmos, that is our main objective in this interview, I would like to ask you to describe in simple terms what is the dYdX. Just let me translate to the audience. Galera, eu vou perguntar para ele agora, o objetivo principal dessa entrevista é a gente saber mais sobre essa jornada da dYdX rumo a Cosmos, né? Como está sendo essa transição. Só para a gente contextualizar, talvez alguém aqui na live não saiba o que é a dYdX, então eu pedi para ele descrever em poucas palavras o que é a dYdX e a gente vai dar isso só para dar uma contextualização geral. So, Karan, in your words or in dYdX terms, in simple terms, what is dYdX?
Sure. So dYdX is the largest decentralized derivatives exchange. In or some simpler terms, it's an exchange that allows you to self custody your funds. Essentially, very different than a centralized exchange, where you simply directly connect your wallet, interact with the protocol, and make any transactions. And when I say it's a derivatives exchange, the specific type of derivatives that is available on dYdX is perpetuals. Perpetuals are kind of futures without any expiry date. And yeah, that's what dYdX does. It has followed a long journey in Web3 space, has been there for more than 5 years now, has built multiple products. And yeah, here we are right now. Legal. It's built, yeah, go ahead.
Ok, it's okay. It's a good nice introduction. Pessoal, então, para quem não sabe, o Karan explicou para a gente, né, a dYdX ela é uma exchange descentralizada, só que não é como a Uniswap, onde você faz transações à vista. Ela é uma exchange de futuros e derivativos, especializada numa modalidade de derivativo que são contratos perpétuos, contratos que não têm expiração. Então, não é uma coisa que você negocia para fazer holding de token, mas é onde você consegue fazer, por exemplo, estratégias para lucrar com o mercado. E é muito interessante isso pelo potencial da dYdX, considerando que não só a dYdX, mas o mercado de futuros derivativos. Em qualquer mercado à vista que a gente tenha, seja de commodities, de ações, de qualquer outra coisa, o mercado de futuros derivativos é um mercado maior. Então, ele é um mercado muito grande. I was just telling everyone, Karan, about the potential of dYdX, because as we know it, for each spot market that we have, even in crypto or in the real world, be it a spot market of commodities or stocks, the futures market is always times bigger than the spot market. So there is a lot of potential for a decentralized protocol that aims to tackle this market. And so you said there is 5 years now for dYdX, right? Porque a dYdX
Yes.
já existe há 5 anos, né? Então, beleza, eu vou entrar com ele agora, pessoal, um pouco, a gente começa a falar da jornada da dYdX, porque nesses 5 anos, eles já migraram de infraestrutura várias vezes, e eu quero perguntar um pouco para ele sobre isso, e como que essa visão da dYdX foi amadurecendo, enquanto ela era um protocolo na Layer 1 da Ethereum, aí ela foi para Starkware, que é um roll-up da Ethereum, e agora ela está indo para Cosmos. So, Karan, is this the perfect hook for the continuation of our interview? Yes, we know that dYdX is a project that has 5 years, a lot of history, but it's a peculiar project in the sense that it has made some bold decisions. It's a protocol that's not afraid to pivot in terms of infrastructure changes. So you guys started as a protocol in the Ethereum layer 1. Later on, you migrated to the Starkware, where you had to redevelop all the protocol from scratch using Cairo, which is a different programming language than Solidity. And now you guys are pivoting again to Cosmos ecosystem, in which you have to rewrite the app again. So what is in your vision, in the vision of dYdX? How do you see this evolution? And what was the main drives to change that propelled you guys to pivot so many times?
Sure. Let me talk on behalf of dYdX just to clarify, and maybe you can again like mention this to your community. I'm part of the dYdX Foundation. So there's dYdX Trading, which essentially builds the product or runs the exchange. We at the foundation focus more on the ecosystem, governance, community token, everything around the protocol. So a lot of answers that I will be giving would be like having a kind of hand distance view from what dYdX is doing, just from our understanding of dYdX. But I'll be talking on behalf of dYdX and representing the foundation, right? Okay. So, so yeah, the point that you mentioned, like it has been in the space for more than 5 years. It has made some bold moves. I think that's very interesting. So dYdX founder Antonio, he comes from, he was working at Coinbase as an engineer. Then he started his own product building on Ethereum. Why Ethereum? Because as I mentioned, that was one of the leading ecosystems and it still is, which had smart contract functionalities, all the new different things, the liquidity which was available in the early days. And that was one of the most stable technology at the time, right? So that was, of course, the reason behind starting on Ethereum. He, along with a bunch of OGs in the DeFi ecosystem, even DeFi was not super popular as a term. They started building this product for margin trading. Then, as we saw in 2020, 2021, there was a huge spike in volumes that were happening on Ethereum. Transaction became like thousands of transactions and everything became super expensive, right? The fees of Ethereum became very expensive. I think dYdX was one of the first protocols to realize that there is a need to move to a layer 2, which will help scale the product. And that's when the dYdX made the decision of moving to Starkware, which is Ethereum layer 2. And since then, I think that has been a very good bet. Like they built a very strong product on Ethereum layer 2. It's highly scalable. The current product works very well. It has a lot of liquidity. It does more than $1 trillion of transaction on a regular basis, up there with Uniswap and some of the other leading DEXs in the space. So yeah, I think they were able to understand what the market sentiment was, where the technology was heading to, and build the product for that. Now, I think with Cosmos, it's an interesting journey now. Like dYdX is moving. I think there's a interesting presentation by dYdX Foundation CEO Charles. He has talked at multiple places that dYdX is an application moving to a protocol. Usually, it's the other way around. Protocols build applications on top. dYdX kind of an application which is building a protocol in Cosmos, because there's a lot of requirement for creating sovereign systems, creating systems that can be controlled, customized, built for your own needs. And that's, I think, where Cosmos comes in. And I'll take a quick pause there and I'll let you talk more about it with your community, and we can continue the conversation.
Great, thanks. Thanks for the quick break, which allows me to translate. Então, pessoal, ele falou bastante sobre o background aqui, tem umas coisas bem interessantes. Por que o time da dYdX entrou primeiro na Layer 1 da Ethereum? Porque eles começaram antes do Summer DeFi, cara. Tipo, os caras entraram na Ethereum quando o DeFi não era famoso, quando o DeFi não era popular. Então, o lugar que se fazia sentido construir alguma coisa era a Ethereum nível 1, porque a gente nem tinha essa noção de nível 1, nível 2, só tinha a Ethereum como a plataforma de contrato inteligente que estava se destacando. E isso levou eles, né, até o ano de 2021, quando a gente teve o DeFi Summer, que aí todos os protocolos de DeFi bombaram. Ali o drive desse Summer DeFi foi, né, o airdrop da Uniswap, que começou a puxar um monte de coisa. E eventualmente eles viram, cara, Ethereum está ficando complicado, né? As taxas estão muito altas, então a gente tem que mudar. De acordo aqui com Karan, a dYdX foi um dos primeiros protocolos a se coçar e a decidir sair da Ethereum para fazer alguma coisa. E eles escolheram a Starkware. Eu vou perguntar um pouco para ele do porquê que eles escolheram a Starkware, mas ele falou que para eles foi uma boa escolha, porque na Starkware eles conseguiram fazer um protocolo escalável, que funciona, que não trava, e eles amadureceram muito o produto na Starkware. Ele falou também que hoje a dYdX já tem mais de 10 trilhões em volume de transação, né, no mercado de futuros. E que, eventualmente, eles decidiram que para fazer o produto que eles querem, eles têm que, na verdade, ter mais soberania, mais autocontrole sobre como o produto funciona. E que aí eles decidiram de deixar de ser uma aplicação apenas para ser um protocolo por si só. Ou seja, ser a sua própria blockchain, montar o seu próprio consenso e poder programar a sua solução desde as coisas mais básicas até a tela do usuário, tá? Bom, dentro dessa jornada toda, cara, eu quero perguntar para ele por que a Starkware. So, Karan, before we follow on the journey of dYdX, right now we are talking about the moment in which you guys are leaving Starkware to join Cosmos. I would like to have a quick explanation on why did you guys choose Starkware in first place? Do you know about that history? Why was Starkware the one that was chosen, even though it has a different programming language than Solidity?
I don't have I of course wasn't part of the team back then, so I don't have a very deep insight on this. But as far as I know, and of course, like listening to some of the public conversations on this topic, it was the most mature Ethereum layer 2 back then. It was one of the products that was technically most feasible to build something on. And as you know, dYdX team is very technically strong, so they have always like considered that like they are a product first team, so they have always considered like going after the product that has the most best technology rather than going for something that is just like popular in the market or something that has like other reasons. So yeah, as far as I know, just because the product was most mature as compared to other layer 2s.
Ok. Ele deu um insight bem legal, cara. É porque como a dYdX, ela sempre foi uma first mover, né? Ela tentou fazer as coisas antes. Na época que a dYdX decidiu sair da primeira camada e ir para uma segunda camada, a Starkware era a camada mais madura. Era a que tinha mais condições técnicas de realmente receber aquele conhecimento. Aqui a sugestão do Joe, para a gente tentar fazer a entrevista mais curta, né? A gente está tentando chegar no meio termo, é porque também ele está contando uma história, né? O que eu pego é a história dele, eu dou uma sintetizada, mas ele realmente está colocando frases mais curtas. Oh, let me talk about your disclaimer, Karan, for a minute. Ele também fez um disclaimer, tá, pessoal? Que a dYdX tem a parte da Foundation, que é onde ele está sediado, ele faz parte da dYdX Foundation, mas também tem a dYdX, que é o time técnico de devs. E ele aqui, ele realmente está oficialmente, tá, em nome da dYdX, falando em nome da dYdX Foundation, só para a gente saber, tá? So, I think that gives us the hook for our fourth question, which is also the development of your storytelling, which you would like, I think that you're going to approach this question, that is, what are the main benefits that dYdX expects from the migration to Cosmos? I think you're going to talk about that, right?
Yep. I think one thing to first of all understand is dYdX, as I mentioned, it's a product first company. So the idea is always to give the best product, to give the best user experience. It doesn't matter like what the underlying technology is. At the end of the day, user should be able to transact, use the protocol with ease. And dYdX wants to build a product which is 10x more scalable, 10x more bigger that can become, right? So just wanted to highlight that first. Then about your question, like around like how Cosmos is better or what are the improvements that we see? I think Cosmos allows a lot of customization and things that can be built at scratch. So as I give this example a few like at a few places I've given this example. As companies become bigger, they want to customize, build, design their own things. For example, if you consider Apple as a product, Apple used to use like third party microchips, then it realized the need to build and design its own microchips, and it came out with its own product with M1 and other new chips are essentially built and designed by um, Apple. So the idea behind that is like once you become successful, you want to make sure that all the underlying technology is exactly customized, exactly designed the way you would like it to run. So that is something that Cosmos allows very well. It provides you an SDK, a software development kit, for simply building, customizing, making things as you would like. So the protocol, if you want to have like an on-chain order book, off-chain order book, all different kind of arrangements can be done. You have your own validator network. So essentially you are in control of your security, of your network security, which is an interesting like feature again. And then all this leads to more sovereign sort of protocol, a protocol that you can control, and even governance parameters. Some of the parameters around governance token can be customized as well at the ground level. So all those functionalities, I think Cosmos is the best product out there, most mature. Again, it's a bet that dYdX is taking, in the sense that it's early in the market. It's thinking of a long-term vision. Let's say 10 years down the line, how the world would look like, and for that, building your own protocol is something that probably makes sense. And again, I'm talking on behalf of dYdX. So yeah, that probably makes sense, and that's what we are doing. I think you're on mute.
Yes, now I'm fixing. Before I translate, eu vou só fazer mais uma pergunta para ele, pessoal, para complementar a resposta, tá? Before I translate your answer, I just asked to ask a little complementary question. How do you guys see the ecosystem of Cosmos? Like do you guys plan on doing IBC bridges and like plug yourselves into the Cosmos ecosystem, or just using the SDK to build your own protocol, but you not like be part of the map of zones and integrate the dYdX within the ecosystem as a whole?
Yeah, it's too early to comment on that, because
Okay.
right now the team is focused on building a very good protocol, which is exactly for the function of like trading or building that derivatives product that we currently have. So that's what the current focus is for the team. It takes time. Engineering takes time. There would be a lot of decisions that the community would be making as well. If there are some interesting tools that make sense for dYdX, even like for example, now there's native USDC coming to Cosmos. So a lot of things are coming to Cosmos, and if anything makes sense, I would think that the community would propose of getting that in place. But too early to comment how it would evolve in the next few months.
Ok, thanks. Então, pessoal, vamos lá. Por que que eles escolheram a Cosmos, tá? Including that was something that the founder said in his podcast. I watched the podcast with Bankless, I think, and he talked about some of these motives. Esses motivos são, assim, realmente os motivos da dYdX para ir para Cosmos, tá? Primeiro que a dYdX, ela é um protocolo que é produto primeiro. Ou seja, o mais importante não é aonde o produto roda, é a qualidade do produto. Então, na visão deles, que é uma visão de 10 anos, onde você quer crescer 10 vezes mais, para eles conseguirem dar conta desse crescimento, eles precisam ter a própria infraestrutura. Eles precisam ter soberania e ter as decisões de projeto que eles mesmos podem tomar sobre como funciona o token, a política monetária, a inscrição dos blocos, a questão da governança. Então eles migraram para serem autossuficientes e para poderem fazer as coisas do modo como eles acreditam que vai dar o melhor produto no final. Ele deu o exemplo da Apple, que começou usando chips terceirizados, mas em algum momento viu, cara, para o meu produto ficar top, eu tenho que desenhar o meu próprio chip. Então, quanto mais uma empresa cresce e melhor ela quer fazer os seus produtos, mais ela precisa investigar a fundo a tecnologia que está por baixo da aplicação, do produto, e começar a customizar aquela tecnologia para ser a melhor tecnologia possível. Eu aproveitei e fiz uma pergunta complementar para ele sobre se eles têm planos para se integrar no ecossistema da Cosmos, tipo pegar lá as pontes IBC e virar mais uma blockchain daquele universo, plugar com osmoses, com átomo, com outras coisas. Ele falou que ainda é muito cedo para pensar sobre isso, que isso é uma coisa que eles vão olhar depois, que o foco deles agora é fazer a melhor dYdX possível dentro da Cosmos, tá? A próxima pergunta que eu vou fazer para ele é se em algum momento eles consideraram, ao invés de virarem uma blockchain da Cosmos, virar uma parachain da Polkadot. E por que eles escolheram um ou o outro, e o quanto que ele sabe sobre os insights disso. So, Karan, for our next question, did you guys ever consider it in the moment you were prospecting alternatives to Starkware? Did you guys ended up considering being in a parachain on Polkadot? This was on the table, it was not, and if so, why in the end was Cosmos favored in your decision?
Sure, I can share my opinion on this because again, I wasn't part of the decision-making process, which chain to be picked. But from my understanding, of course, a lot of solutions must have been explored, including not just Parachain, not just Polkadot, but even other layer 2 Polygon, Solana, some of the other successful products that were last year, and of course, which had a lot of liquidity. But when specifically talking about Polkadot Parachains, I think both the technologies are good and they have their own set of pros and cons. So when it comes to picking one over another, I think, as I mentioned, one of the aspect of Cosmos is that building sovereign chains. You can manage your own security. I think that's a very important thing, which is still shared security on parachains. And this is my opinion. Probably this was one of the considerations of the team. Second thing is customizing governance, which depends a bit on Polkadot, and especially with Parachain, the entire voting mechanism process of bringing on board is slightly more complex than building something ground up. And every product is a different situation and different phase in their journey. So let's say somebody is launching a new product, they would have a different way of approaching it. But dYdX already has established product, established brand. There were a lot of validators, external partners of the ecosystem which are willing to contribute or support dYdX to build its own chain. So I think it makes a lot of sense for starting something from ground up as compared to piggybacking on some other established product.
Great insights. Thanks a lot, Karan. Os insights que ele deu, pessoal, é muito interessante, porque sempre que a gente discute Cosmos versus Polkadot, existe uma série de pontos que eu tenho trazido continuamente, pelo menos nos últimos 6 meses, batendo nas mesmas teclas. E é muito legal que eu não cheguei a falar sobre isso com Karan, mas os insights que ele deu são exatamente os mesmos, tá? Sobre essa leitura de mercado. Primeiro que ele falou que além de considerar parachains, nessa escolha, também temos que considerar Solana e Polygon, e outras alternativas, enquanto eles poderiam escolher do leque que o mercado oferece. Mas eles escolheram a Cosmos e, de novo, por quê? Soberania. A capacidade de customizar a sua segurança e de customizar a sua governança. Quando você pensa na Polkadot, qual que é o grande benefício da Polkadot? Você tem a segurança compartilhada da Relay Chain. Ou seja, a segurança está garantida. O grande desafio de um protocolo na Cosmos é conseguir validadores interessados em manter a sua rede segura. Isso é um problema para um protocolo desconhecido, mas a dYdX já vem com uma reputação muito grande. Ela já tem um track record de ser um player conhecido do mercado. Então já tem um monte de validador interessado em apoiar a validação da dYdX na Cosmos. Então eles não têm esse problema. E eles acabaram realmente escolhendo a Cosmos pelo quê? Pelo fato de que eles podem fazer as coisas do jeito que eles querem, né? E na Polkadot, além de toda essa coisa de ter que ter limitações na maneira como você faz sua segurança e até mesmo limitações na sua autonomia de governança, porque a Polkadot tem um processo político muito estruturado, né, de votações e câmaras e tudo mais, eles também viram que esse processo de leilão de Parachain é um processo que é complexo, que tem muitas etapas, e eles queriam já partir logo para a inovação, que é uma outra coisa que eu falo bastante, né? O sistema de leilões da Polkadot, ele oferece, sim, muita segurança, mas ele também oferece muita fricção. São muitas etapas que não têm a ver com a sua tecnologia, mas que você tem que cumprir até colocar a sua tecnologia no ar. E isso, às vezes, é um desincentivo, tá? Porque protocolos não querem gastar dinheiro com etapas burocráticas, com formalizações de segurança. Eles querem colocar o dinheiro na sua inovação. Às vezes é bom, às vezes é ruim, não estou falando de melhor ou pior, tá? Não é um julgamento de mérito, mas só que esse fator pesa, como a gente pode ver, na escolha final dos protocolos. So, thanks a lot, Karan. A próxima pergunta que eu vou fazer para o Karan é se eles estão gostando da experiência de utilizar o SDK da Cosmos, tá? So, Karan, this is a very straightforward question. I think you will forward that one from the tech team, but Are the tech guys enjoying the Cosmos SDK? It's been a good experience to develop overall?
I will ask them next time if I come across or meet someone at the tech team, because they are deep down building. I think, yeah, hard to comment on that question because that's a separate team that is building it.
Okay.
But maybe what I can say is we have got a lot of support from all the people in the Cosmos ecosystem, whether that's like validators, indexer operators, some of the key investors, security researchers, all the people that known people in the Cosmos ecosystem who have been building for like 5-6 years in Cosmos. They are all actively supporting because it's a big milestone for Cosmos as well that a successful application is moving to Cosmos. So has been a lot of support. And if you follow the dYdX blogs, I think that's what I would recommend to your community as well, to keep up to date with all the announcements that they make on dYdX exchange blogs. They have put a milestone of how the development would look like, and things are moving on track. The next step is the public testnet. Private testnet was successfully completed, and this was recently done, and public testnet is next. So things are moving smoothly, exactly as planned. So as far as I know, probably think, yeah, technically everything is moving in the right direction.
Great. Ele falou o seguinte, que como ele não é do tech team, ele não tem essa visão tão intrínseca, mas o que ele sabe, ele pode falar pra gente, que ele tá achando bem legal. Existe muito suporte da comunidade, ou seja, a comunidade realmente chega junto, seja na forma lá, sei lá, da fundação, de validadores, de players do mercado que ficam à disposição e ajudam no desenvolvimento, e que, o que é muito legal de saber, eles estão com um cronograma em dia. Né? Foi até uma coisa que ele falou antes, que o time técnico da dYdX é muito forte, né? E realmente tem que ser, cara, porque para você programar em Cairo, né, que foi como eles colocaram lá na Starkware, você tem que ser muito casca grossa, cara, porque Cairo é difícil pra caramba de se programar. Então, agora, nessa versão deles da dYdX, eles estão em dia com o cronograma e as coisas estão indo como esperado. I just told them, Karan, that you guys really must be a very good technical team, because to program something like that in Cairo, it's not easy at all. So if you extrapolate that you were able to develop in Cairo, perhaps Cosmos SDK will be a lot smoother than Cairo as well. Okay. The next one is a question about the Cosmos, about how dYdX view the Cosmos ecosystem. É uma pergunta agora para eles sobre como é que eles veem o ecossistema da Cosmos e o fenômeno de cosmotização das blockchains, ou seja, se eles acham que outros protocolos, né, e a gente tem visto sinais disso, também vão ter essa sacada. Cara, para que eu vou brigar por espaço de bloco numa blockchain que tem outras aplicações? Essas aplicações podem interferir na minha quando elas se engargalam, versus eu ter a minha própria blockchain, ser o meu próprio validador e coletar as taxas que a atividade do meu protocolo gera na minha própria blockchain. Né? E se ele enxerga que essa é uma tendência que pode se reforçar nos próximos anos. So Karen, there are also some other advantages when we think about moving from application towards protocol, as you said, being that you have control of your own security, you can have a better management of your governance protocol, you can tackle the problem in a more fine-tuned way of building a better product, but also you have your own blockchain. So if you generate activity on your blockchain, then you also get to profit from the tax generation and the fees of your own protocol, which I think it's something that really allows the protocol to have more financial solidity or robustness. And there seems to be other protocols and projects that are starting to think in the same way as dYdX. I think that dYdX was like a bit of a shock for the crypto community. Like people were not expecting to see this announcement, at least in Brazil. I was one of the first YouTubers in Brazil to cover this migration and to talk about it and start to ask some questions about it. But now it seems that it's not so shocking at all. It's a very straightforward decision. And there are some people, you see some theses being spoken around of the cosmotization of blockchains, where other protocols will start to pursue their own blockchains, even if they only want to be segregated from other applications. For instance, when we see Polygon, that is a scalability layer, but when the guys did that game, the sunflower game, I think that you like click on the flowers to mint tokens. So many people minted so many little flowers that the whole blockchains struggled and froze. So if you have your own blockchain, you are also safe from the congestion that other bad design protocols may produce on the layer, on the application layer itself. So do you guys have like word of other projects that are protocols that comes to you guys and say, well, share about your insights? Do you believe that we may see a cosmotization of blockchains in the future or in the near future?
Yeah, I think there are some interesting points that you raised, and it is very hard to predict future. Like I can go ahead and say that, okay, this is going to happen, but probably things will look very different because first of all, we operate in a very young technology space, like not even 15 years since we started the entire ecosystem of blockchains. Of course, the ideas must be out there, but the actual user-facing applications are not very old. So there are a lot of experimentations that are being done. For dYdX, the idea, as I mentioned, is always to build the best product. So it doesn't matter which technology you build on, whether they are building on Ethereum or Layer 2 or Cosmos, it doesn't really matter. What matters is uh, building something that people find very easy to use. Uh, they find it that it is performing in the way that they would want. So, for example, you mentioned about these minting of flowers, which congest the network. So, like building something where your transactions are being prioritized and not sharing block space with something else. That could be one of the reasons for building on Cosmos, and other teams can consider that. And if that's a problem for some teams, of course, they will consider that. But the point is, we should not be looking at whether like a lot of protocols would be moving to Cosmos, what the dYdX is doing it, so others would be doing it or not. I think what's important to understand is crypto is still very small. There are very like barely a few thousand users that interact on a regular basis with DeFi protocols. And if you want to scale it to Web 2 or the level of numbers that we see in like traditional or at least like Web 2 startups or social media platforms, it would require simplifying everything very much and making sure things are secure, things are scalable, things are easy to use and get to. So I think that's the challenge. That should be something every protocol should be focusing on. If they think a particular technology will help them get to that point, I think they should be using or considering that as a template rather than just thinking about cosmotization or, for example, layer twoization. I don't know what the word is for scaling. Yeah.
Yes, I totally agree with you, man. O que ele falou, pessoal, que nessas considerações que eu fiz, ele achou que tem alguns pontos muito interessantes, que faz sentido, digamos assim, né? A tese da cosmotização, ela tem o seu apelo, mas que, cara, não dá para prever o futuro, né? É uma tecnologia muito nova e que cada protocolo vai ter que dar o seu próprio jeito de achar a maneira de se desenvolver, mas que eventualmente o trabalho que eles estão fazendo pode ser o template, né? Pode ser tipo um playbook assim para que novos caras façam algo parecido. Tá? A próxima pergunta que eu vou fazer para o Karan, a gente está chegando já no final da entrevista, depois eu vou puxar algumas perguntinhas de vocês. Just telling them, Karan, that we are on our last two questions and then we'll get some questions from the audience so you can chat with them as well. A próxima pergunta que eu vou fazer para ele é o seguinte, cara, como é que eles enxergam o futuro do mundo cripto, tá? Esse futuro multi-chain, app-chain e especialmente a integração com os ativos do mundo real. Né? E entramos aqui um pouco também na parte regulatória que alguns de vocês levantaram. Tá? So, Karan, for our next question, I think that you guys, of course, see the future of the crypto world as a multi-chain with support for app chains future, like not more monolithic and winner takes all future in crypto, but I'd like to talk a little about that. But especially, how do you guys see the integration with crypto finance and real world finance? So if dYdX thinks about that, is getting ready to do that, because we're talking about hybridization of markets, especially with the emergence of regulated DeFi and CBDCs. And now, how do you guys see a little more of the middle game, not even the end game, but the middle game for crypto finance in integration, multi-chain world, lots of blockchains, lots of CBDCs? How does a finance protocol suits itself or settles itself in this world that we are envisioning for the next years?
Sure. I can share my opinions on that. There's no right answer for a question like that, because there are a lot of different scenarios that can play out in the world. So a lot of things need to be figured out. Of course, you mentioned about regulations, which all, like in most cases, regulations lag behind the technology development. So for example, I talk about this a lot, that I'm sure the cars like for example Ford or somebody else must have come to the world before traffic signals or lane systems or other sort of like regulations that are required around it, right? So predicting how a technology would impact other things around it, how the real world would be impacted by technology, is slightly complicated to do that. But to your question, I think, of course, DeFi would start interfacing with the real world sooner than later. Of course, there are a few things that would be sorted out before, and there would be some new things as well. Not necessarily everything that is available in the real world would be digitalized and brought on chain, but a few things would be how different nations design their CBDCs or design their whatever regulated digital assets is also something to see. So there could be different organizations, banks, or sovereign nations planning to launch, let's say, on a particular technology or build a private blockchain for their own use case. How that is going to interface with some of the public blockchains out there is yet to be seen. How soon people will become comfortable, or the masses would become comfortable from moving to a government designed or regulated sort of product to, let's say, a digital product, that's yet to be seen. So in my opinion, I think things will happen, but it will take its time. Maybe some of the easiest things will start being tackled at the early stages. There could be some ways of, as you were saying, like CDFI, or centralizing some of the aspects of DeFi so that things can be done in a more secure manner. That could come with the regulations as well. So we are yet to see. I think yet to like imagine how that future is going to be. But yeah, not too much on this. But what I can at least say is, we should keep building, and we should keep solving some of these challenges as people in this space. We should not just be looking at markets or how this is like an interesting way to invest or diversify or something like that. We should also be thinking about like solving these hard problems, building some of these solutions, working with our local people or other organizations, even talking to Web2 companies, government organizations, to help explain what we are trying to do here. And slowly things will start moving in the direction that we want.
Great. Thanks a lot for sharing your vision, Karan. I also think that about about that a lot, and I usually say something in the lines that you're saying. It's not only about tokenization and investments, it's about using all of this technology to solve problems that are there and that cannot be solved by current technology. So I think that's one of the most healthy visions for crypto. So we do not end up only tokenizing what already exists and just having a new way to exploit value as we do now. So thanks a lot for these insights. I will now translate them to the guys in the audience. Eu agradeci a ele a resposta, tá, pessoal? Ele falou bastante coisa legal. Primeira coisa que essa posição que ele colocou agora não é uma posição oficial, é a opinião dele, porque esse é um assunto que está muito extrapolado, né, de um roadmap, de um protocolo, mas que na visão dele é natural que a regulação venha depois, porque a tecnologia vem primeiro, e a regulação vem depois. Então, por exemplo, primeiro você inventa o carro, depois você inventa o cruzamento, depois você tem o sinal no cruzamento para regular a maneira como os carros andam e de maneira que os carros não atropelem as pessoas, né? Primeiro você inventa o carro, depois você vê os problemas que a invenção do carro traz, junto com as soluções, e a regulação vem para tornar aquilo ali mais funcional. Ele também acha que a integração com ativos do mundo real é inevitável e que isso deve ser acelerado por agora, especialmente com a chegada das CBDCs e blockchains privadas de governos e bancos, e que vai depender um pouco da capacidade das pessoas, usuários finais, se sentirem confortáveis em migrar para essa infraestrutura, né? Que uma coisa vai puxando a outra. Ele acha que isso aí vai acontecer, é bem possível, só que vai levar um tempo, não é para agora, não é para amanhã, mas que sim, essa coisa que ele chamou de CDFI, né, Centralized Decentralized Finance, é uma tendência que pode trazer segurança e adoção. E que da parte da dYdX, o foco é keep building, cara. Vamos continuar construindo e os problemas vão chegando, a regulação vai ficando mais clara e a gente vai tomando as decisões ali uma a uma, tá? Bom, vou partir para a nossa última pergunta aqui oficial, depois eu puxo algumas perguntinhas do chat, tá? Tem assuntos que a gente não tem como a gente tocar, porque não tem abertura para tudo, tem assuntos que são delicados, que não cabe nesse formato de entrevista, mas o que a gente puder perguntar, a gente vai perguntar para ele, tá? So, for our last official question, Karan, before we chat a little with the audience, what are the next relevant steps for the dYdX, or even in your vision or the dYdX vision, what are the main challenges that dYdX will face in the future?
Yeah, I think a lot of interesting things happening on every front. So, of course, on the technology, we talked a lot about this. The engineering team is focused on building this protocol. A lot of testing is going on with a set of validators. We did the private testnet. Now the next phase is the public testnet that would be launching very soon, would be again testing like some of the core functionalities, some other architecture components. So I think one of the best places to keep up to date if you are interested in what is happening on the tech side is the dYdX blog. So they put regular updates on which are the milestone that has been completed. They actually put a list of milestones or phases last year itself, and they are just like giving a regular update on what things are being completed, what is next on the product side. At the foundation side, there are some many interesting things that we are looking at as well. So of course, like with the new protocol, there would be a new sort of organization structure, DAOs that would be established, how the community would be participating, all the validators would be participating in governance. So a lot of focus is then going into like governance, how that would be structured. A lot of community participation happening. So we are hosting regular community calls with the people in our community. You can check out dYdX.forum. That is super active these days with different community members suggesting ideas how they can improve, what research they want to do, how they have learned from other products in the ecosystem, and what we can do along those lines. So recently there was a proposal for there's an operations sub DAO at dYdX, which is going to manage a lot of operations of the DAO, which completed its fundraise. So it completed a fundraise of more than $6 million for running some of the crucial components and also managing the operations of the DAO. So that just passed this week. So a lot of things happening on every front. Join our communities, join our community calls for latest update. We do a community town hall every other week. So we completed one last week, which gives an update on everything dYdX, so engineering, DAO side of things, grants, which are the grants that we have funded, what are happening at the foundation, all go to market. So I would suggest to join that. Yeah, I can leave it at that.
Great. The grants program is already operational, or it's going to be published in the future?
No, grants program is already there. dYdX.grants. Check it out. It is a multi-million-dollar grants that are live from almost a year now, if I'm not wrong. More than many months. It's the second phase going on. So there are grants for everything, for research, for community, for events, for technical stuff if you want to build support. So yep, go check it out on dYdX.grants.
Great. I'll show
And there
you
are some other yeah,
no, please,
sure.
please
There are some
finish.
other interesting things like dYdX.academy if you're interested to learn more about how perpetuals work, how trading works, how self-custody works. So check out dYdX.academy. And there's also dYdX merch store, which you can find cool merch on that. So I'm wearing a Hedgie t-shirt. I don't know if you know about dYdX Hedgies. That's an NFT mascot. So yeah, some cool merch available out there. I'm sure our community in Brazil would be sharing some of the links as well later on.
Great, thanks a lot, man. I'll show you the links to the audience right now. Então, pessoal, sobre os desafios da dYdX para o futuro, ele falou um pouco sobre as duas frentes, né? A primeira frente que ele falou, que não é onde ele está posicionado, que é a frente tecnológica, os caras estão agora em testnet fechada e vão fazer uma testnet aberta, tá? E aí a gente vai poder testar a nova versão da dYdX. E falou que a melhor maneira de acompanhar os desenvolvimentos tecnológicos da dYdX, a parte tecnológica, é no blog. Vou colocar aqui o link no chat, tá? Então você pode puxar aqui o dYdX Exchange /blog e você vai ver milestones, como é que as coisas para V4 estão indo, tá vendo? Quem quiser fazer algum estudo aprofundado, eu acho que o blog vai dar bastante material legal. Da parte de Foundation, ele falou algumas coisas que eu não sabia, que são bem interessantes, como o fato da dYdX estar começando a fazer estruturação de fóruns de governança e de DAOs. Então, começando a dar mais participação da comunidade, né, nos rumos do protocolo. Então, para quem quiser acompanhar essa parte, tem o dYdX.forum. Vou colocar o link para vocês também. Você pode dar uma olhada em como é que estão as discussões em torno de DAO, as propostas e como é que estão indo todas essas elaborações aqui. Até a parte de tesouraria está aqui também. Ele falou, inclusive, que já foram levantados 600 milhões de dólares para o desenvolvimento, né, dessa parte de governança e de DAO. Então, bem bacana. Outra coisa legal que ele falou são os dYdX Grants, que é o programa para você fazer projetos e protocolos ou iniciativas que ganham subsídio da dYdX para serem desenvolvidos. Então, quem estiver querendo fazer algum projeto que entra no mercado de futuros e derivativos, os caras já concederam 116 grants, totalizando mais de 3,2 milhões de dólares em 25 rodadas de funding. Então, você pode ver tipo, as categorias que eles querem e, de repente, você aplicar o seu projeto para um grant e desenvolver ele dentro aí do ecossistema da dYdX. Tá? Ele também falou da dYdX Academy. Deixa eu colocar o link aqui Deixa eu colocar o link do Grants também para vocês no chat. E colocar o link da dYdX Academy, que é para quem quer estudar sobre derivativos futuros e aprender mais sobre a dYdX. Então você vai aprender como é que funciona a finança descentralizada, nos contratos de futuros e perpétuos, como é que funciona. Então você vai aprender aqui, ó, legal, instalar MetaMask, desde coisas simples, né, e fundamentais até a operação aqui de um sistema de futuros, né, de contratos futuros e perpétuos. Então, bem bacana essa parte educacional também. E por último, para quem for fã da dYdX, tem o Merc Shop da dYdX, onde você pode comprar merchandising, camisas e bonés e tudo mais. E ele falou que eventualmente vai entrar aqui também questão de NFT, tá? Aqui o Ornito passou uma curiosidade de que esse ouriço é o Antônio, o fundador da dYdX. Deixa eu perguntar isso. So, Karan, one of the guys in our audience is saying that this hedgehog is actually Antonio, the founder of dYdX. Is it true?
Antonio has a Hedgie as well. I don't know what the question is.
Yes, the mascot. Yeah, you say that this little mascot is a representation of him.
I don't know about that.
Acho que isso aí é fake news, hein, Ornito? I think that this is only rumors. So, não temos confirmação oficial de que o Antônio, o fundador, é lá o ouriço, lá o bichinho que tá ali. So we now just to fetch some questions from our audience. We do not have much time, but like I'll fetch one or two, then we close our interview. A gente não tem muito tempo, tá, pessoal? Não dá para buscar todas, mas eu vou perguntar algumas que tenham mais foco com o que a gente conversou aqui, tá? Deixa eu ver. A parte tech não dá para puxar para ele, tá, pessoal? A parte regulatória já foi. A parte de injeção de capital também já foi. Eu acho que basicamente, cara, as perguntas foram todas respondidas. Que é uma pergunta legal do Ornito. So there is a question for our audience, Karan, that if you guys also intend to do mobile first products, or for now we're only talking about using via web browser and extensions and plugins?
So the current app, dYdX v3, you can call it v4. We are calling the new protocol that is launching. So dYdX v3 is available on web app, of course, and Android app. iOS app, Apple iOS app, and the plan, of course, is to develop an Android app as well soon. So you can expect it after the new protocol launches. So sometime around that, we have an Android team at dYdX Trading as well, who is building an app.
Ok, thank you. Então ele diz, pessoal, que sim, tá no radar deles, que inclusive tem um time de Android dentro do staff do dYdX, e que eles primeiro vão lançar o protocolo, claro, né, o protocolo V4, que é o da Cosmos, o V3 é o da Starkware, e assim que o protocolo estiver funcionando, que a gente deve esperar em algum tempo, né, não muito tempo, sair também um aplicativo nativo para Android. As outras perguntas, pessoal, a gente já respondeu durante a entrevista, o pessoal pode voltar para procurar. Vamos realmente partir aí para o nosso encerramento. Vou falar para ele do nosso ritual de encerramento, tá? Para a gente dar aquela moral para o nosso convidado. So, Karan, the other questions, we answered them during the interview, so not like fetch them here. But when we close an interview here in the Casta Crypto channel, we have a little ritual where we let our guest say his last words and say goodbye to everyone. And as you were saying your final remarks, the guys in the audience are going to wish you all the very best and thank you a lot for the time that you spent with us, okay? So please take your time. I will warn them before I let you start your remarks, but so that you know that we are closing now. Então, pessoal, já vão. O Tavinho já começou. Já vão aí no chat, tá? Desejem tudo de bom para o nosso querido Karan, que veio visitar a gente, as coisas que ele compartilhou, a gente agradece o tempo que ele dedicou para a gente também, tá? So, Karan, please, let's give us your final remarks and let you say goodbye to the audience now.
Yeah, sure. Just a quick remark from my end. Don't let the markets define what you do in Web3. Keep building, keep growing, whatever you're doing, keep learning. And at the end of the day, again, we are very new in this space. Long term, everything is going to look very positive in my view. I'm an optimist, techno-optimist. And again, thanks everyone for joining. And of course, like it was a really interesting conversation. Thanks, Casto, for having me. And always available on different channels, on dYdX Discord, on Twitter. So you can find me there. If there's anything you want to reach out, please reach out. Thank you.
Great. So lots of people thanking you, Karan, for your time with us. I really hope you enjoyed being here, talking to the Brazilian audience. We certainly enjoyed a lot of this conversation. Então também disse ele, pessoal, que da nossa parte a gente agradece muito. Ele agradeceu por estar aqui e disse que gostou da entrevista. So, Karan, for the end, we have our final goodbye here. We do not say goodbye, we say good winds for everyone. So, if you want, galera, aqui bons ventos em inglês para todos. Good winds, pessoal. Good winds, Karan.
Good winds. How do you say that in Portuguese? Do you say good winds?
Bons ventos.
Bons ventos.
Garoto, bons ventos, pessoal. Tchau, tchau.
Tchau.